Hello and welcome back. Last week we added in a score so the player can track their progress. This week we're going to make the number of asteroids increase as the player completes each level, progressively making the levels get harder and harder. As usual, the first thing to do will be to check the code from the previous tutorial compiles by running cargo run. We should be able to see a player spaceship and be able to move this around and shoot the asteroid. Notice the score going up as we do so. If you don't see this, you can run git checkout tutorial 13 to grab the code at this point. The first thing we need to do is add a new external crate to our project, so we navigate to cargo.toml. And we'll be using the random number generator crate called rand, so we add a reference to this using version 0.8. Next, we want to navigate to components.rs so we can alter the game data struct. We scroll down to the bottom of the file where the game data struct is created, and we add a new variable called level of type U32. Having added this variable, we now need to go to the load world function in game.rs and initialize this appropriately. We'll set the level to 1. Then we scroll up to the top of the file where we import our libraries, and we add a reference to use rand RNG so we can use random numbers. Next we scroll down into the update function to the section where we check if all of the asteroids are destroyed. And here we will create a new variable called number asteroids to count how many asteroids need to be created. We initialize it to 0. Underneath the part where we set must create asteroid equal to true, we grab a write storage reference to the game data object called gameDatas. Then we loop through the gameDatas object by calling for gameData in gameDatas and .join on the end to make an iterator. Then we add 1 to the level. All of the asteroids are gone, so the player has advanced 1 level. And then we will calculate the number of asteroids to create. We do this by dividing the level by 3 and adding 1, meaning at level 3 we will have 2 asteroids, level 6 we will have 3 asteroids, and so on. We then scroll down to the section where we create new asteroids, inside of the if must create asteroids section, and we will delete everything except the call to the create asteroid function. First, we create a variable to keep track of the asteroids which have been created so far, to make sure we don't make too many. Set it to 0 initially. On the next line, we will create a while loop to keep looping while the number of created asteroids is less than the number we want. Next, we create a reference to the random number generator called RNG for random number generator, and this is from rand thread RNG. Then we get a random location for the next x coordinate by calling rng.genRange and passing in a range of 50.0 to the game width casting as f64 minus 50, because we don't want the asteroid to be spawned too close to the edge. And we do the same for the y coordinate, but remembering to change the game width for game height. And lastly, we generate a random angle between 0 and 360. So, obviously this wouldn't be great if the random location is too close to the player and the game would become unpredictably hard, so we should check how close the player and asteroid are together. We can do that with the Pythagorean theorem, but first we calculate the differences in x-coordinate. And the difference in y-coordinate doing the same thing. Then we'll multiply x by itself and y by itself, add up the two, and then take the square root, which, as every school maths teacher will tell you, is the same as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We will check to make sure that this is at least 150 units away by checking if the distance is less than 150. And if it is, we will simply continue, which is to say, go on to the next loop without updating anything. It's worth leaving a comment here to highlight what this code is doing. So then after this, we update the asteroid count by 1 because this asteroid is valid. Then we create a new variable called newAsteroid to hold the asteroid position of type componentsPosition. The values for this are nextx, nextY, and nextrot. Then we want to cut our call to the create asteroid function and put it inside this loop. And we want to replace the current player position with the next asteroid position instead. The final thing we want to do is change the maximum number of missiles that the player can shoot, so we scroll down to where that constant is created. And we change that value to 5 instead of 3. Running cargo run, we see that it takes a while to build because we have to download the new RAND crate that we added earlier. And we have an error. There is a missing semicolon after we create the next asteroid position. So we scroll back up and add that back in. And we run cargo run again. And we can see that it builds and runs as before. I've sped up the footage so we could get to level 3 quickly. When we make it to level 3, we see we now have 2 asteroids spawning instead. This will keep scaling, so at level 6 we will get 3, and so on. If you'd like to check that the code works at later levels, we can do so by changing the start level inside the load world function, so we'll scroll down to that now. And we set the start level to 11, meaning when we defeat the first asteroid, we'll then be on level 12. We should see 5 asteroids at this point. Rerunning the code, we can see that we get 5 asteroids as we expected, once we defeat the first asteroid. And there we have it. We've now got a game that gets very challenging at later levels by adding more and more asteroids. Join us next week, where we'll be adding in some stars into the background to make the game more visually appealing. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below, and if you enjoyed this, then please subscribe to the channel and set the notification bell so that you'll be notified when the next video comes out. For now though, I'll wish you a good day, hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.